But I get comments all the time, like all the time, nearly every day, where people are like, oh, you should just go get a real job.
Hi, friends. I'm Dr. Chloe Carmichael, clinical psychologist and author of Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety, and of course, your host for the High Functioning Hotspot, where I get to interview all kinds of interesting, talented, intelligent people and learn a little bit about their lives. Today's guest is a beauty influencer on Instagram named Olivia Caputo. She is not only a beautiful woman inside and out, she's also an incredible businesswoman, because I know for some people, they might have a knee-jerk reaction and say, oh, an Instagram beauty influencer, they might have certain stereotypes that come with that, right? So if that's you, I just want to invite you to think about the fact that there are a lot of women that have a camera who are beautiful women that are not successful on Instagram the way that she is. She's coordinating sponsorships for herself and collaborations and all kinds of other things. I actually met her at a beauty event by a global beauty brand where I was hired to kind of talk about the body-mind connection of looking good and feeling good. And there actually is some very interesting psychology around personal grooming and the way that it affects our social relationships and our mood and our overall self-care. And of course, Olivia was there as a beauty influencer to bring the beauty and to give her feedback on the products. And we hit it off. We struck up a bit of a connection and we stayed in touch. And Olivia was kind enough to do this interview. She shares with me really not even so much about beauty, but about how she handles certain stereotypes like the ones I just described, as well as a little bit of insight into her business journey. And she's actually managed to make a very successful living for herself in New York City, which is not an easy thing to do. So without further ado, I give you Olivia Caputo. So thank you so much for joining me on the High Functioning Hotspot. It's great to see you again. It's been years.
Yeah, it's so good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So obviously, just to share for people who may not know, we met several years ago for a beauty event for Tarte, T-A-R-T-E.
Yes. Yes.
And that was so much fun. And I really enjoyed the chance to chat with you and to follow your Instagram over the years since. You're up to 121,000 followers now.
Yes, I know. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I was also just reading a little bit on your website about your journey and how you went to school to be, I think, a communications major and to become a
Yes.
reporter. But you had this secret dream of being a model. And then when you saw how your Instagram was taking off, you thought, wow, I could potentially parlay this into something like my dream. And that's a really bold choice.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, at that time back when I was in college, so I guess this was back in like 2015, 16-ish was when my Instagram started picking up. Sorry, my puppy is here and he is trying to play with my slipper. But yeah, back in college, Instagram was just really fun for me, but it was really rapidly growing as I was sharing the things that I loved. But at the same time, I had internships at different news stations and I was studying to be a reporter. So I had a lot of classes that were very focused on that. Very small classes with sometimes I would only have like 8 people in a class. So it was really fun and I enjoyed that very, very much. But once I realized the potential of what I could grow from my Instagram, that became something I really, really wanted to strive for. So moving to New York was the next step to make that happen because I didn't feel like I could go full force and make it happen in Tampa, where I grew up. So I moved to New York with a part-time job at Pop Sugar, and I was only there for about 3 or 4 months before my business really took off. And at that point, I left my part-time position at Pop Sugar to pursue my influencer career full-time. And here we are nearly how many years later? 4 years later. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's so amazing. So I feel like we met about 4 years ago. So it was all like you were just getting started at that time.
Yeah, I think so. I wonder if I was still at Pop Sugar. I would have to look back and see because it's possible that I was still there because I was doing both things at the same time. And then when I just got so busy because so many of these influencer events are during normal work hours, I would have to leave my part-time job, which felt kind of funny. So at a certain point, it was time for me to quit. But yeah, so full time for 4 years, which is pretty crazy. I pinch
That's
myself
amazing.
every day. Thank
You,
you.
yes, so you pinch yourself every day. For a moment, I thought you said that you also perhaps pitch yourself every day. So I've
Well,
also,
that too.
yeah, I mean, I was curious since you have a background in communications, do you pitch yourself, for events sometimes?
I do. Yeah. So I don't have a management team or anything like that. I have worked with management in the past. Which I learned so much from having a manager. So I really know how to read and edit contracts now and things like that. So I'm very grateful for the time that I did have management. But I'm doing everything entirely on my own now. So it's important for me to spend a lot of my time pitching myself to brands for partnerships, or if they have any events coming up or new launches or anything I might be interested in. Getting connected and building your network is such a huge part of what I do. And it's nice to be able to do it on my own, honestly, because I want to be the one that's building those connections versus having a manager do it, where it's much less personal. I love being connected to the people that I work with and talking to them myself. So it's something I really, really enjoy. And I spend a lot of time doing that. Yeah.
That is amazing. And I love that you are open and that you'll share that, because I feel like for a lot of influencers or, celebrity models or actresses, it's kind of part of their thing that they want to say, like, oh, I was just discovered, like these things just
Right.
pour into my life, even though behind the scenes they're hustling 24/7, but they,
Hmm.
they feel like somehow they have to hide that part. So thanks for sharing the whole story. And I love that you have this background in communications. I mean, that must be so handy.
It really is. Yeah. Like I never knew that I would use that degree for something else, but I use so much of what I learned in college every day. So I'm very glad that I finished my education. That was very important to me. And yeah, I learned so many other skills too, like video editing, because that's a big part of when you're studying to be a journalist. They teach you all that kind of stuff too. So I learned how to use editing softwares and things like that I use on a daily basis, especially now with this boom of TikTok and video content. I literally use those skills every day.
That's amazing. And do you edit like in the app, or do you edit using some kind of a pro software and then upload it?
I do all of the above. I use Adobe Premiere. That's my serious editing software. If I need to just sit down and focus on something with more intricate editing style and stuff like that, I'll use that. I also have a quick app on my phone if I'm just trying to put something together quickly. It's called InShot. I love it. And then other than that, I'll do it in the TikTok app or sometimes in Instagram Reels. If it's something quick and easy that I can just go ahead and do, I'll do it in the app. So it's a lot of different ways to do it these days.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you obviously you could teach a course to aspiring influencers, it sounds like, as well, if you ever wanted to, though. I'm sure your plate is pretty full. I saw on your website that you said that you actually used, I'm going to find the exact words. You said that you are now looking at the next chapter of your career, which sounded very intriguing. Could you tell
Yeah.
us what that might be?
Absolutely. So I have loved working in social media for the last 4 years, and I don't see myself stopping doing any of that anytime soon. But as you said in the beginning of our interview, something I've always wanted to do is model, but it's something I struggled with being that I'm 5'5". So I am on the petite side. As much as I am a regular sized person, I'm the average sized woman in the United States being 5'5". But in the modeling industry, that's considered petite. And most modeling agencies they don't even answer me when I try to get in touch with someone. So I'm really hoping that I can use my platforms to try to get, I would love to get scouted in this way. That'd be fantastic because it's so difficult to break into the industry as a petite model. As much as the industry is shifting towards more inclusive models and everything, I've noticed that they're more inclusive in sizing as long as you are tall enough, which is interesting. So I'm just hoping that I can continue to grow my network and get connected to the right people and find a modeling agency or someone that believes in me that can help me get to these castings and meet some new brands, because I love the modeling work that I do, but it's pretty much freelance. So any modeling work I do for the most part is someone that I've worked with on an influencer capacity that wants to hire me for some of their commercial advertising, which I love doing it so much. But I know that there is a lot of other opportunities for me out there that I don't really have access to without an agent. So that's
Yeah.
something I really want to do in this next chapter of my career.
And you're in the right place. I mean, New York is amazing for networking. Do you go to like the open calls at Wilhelmina and those types of places?
No, because they say you need to be like 5'8" or taller.
Oh, you know what, Olivia? If I were you, I mean, I would just show up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if you show
Hmm.
up and you show them your Instagram, I mean, you're not just any old person who, you know what I mean? I mean, the
Yeah.
worst that can happen is they would say, "We're sorry, but we mean it," you know? But they might even
Right.
say to you, "I'm sorry, we can't, but you know what? I know someone who works with petite models. Here's the phone
Right.
number."
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I should.
I would give it a shot. Seriously. I mean, you know, I think you're very charismatic and there's
Thank
exceptions
you.
to every rule. I know there's tons of open calls in New York. I know this because when I first moved to New York many years ago, like 2 decades ago, I literally had to share my room. I didn't even have my own
Oh,
room.
yeah. Hmm.
And my roommate was the winner of the Teen Magazine modeling contest.
Oh, wow. Oh
And
my
so
God.
yeah, so I, you know, kind of learned like some little like beauty hacks and stuff through her where, you know,
Oh,
we still
yeah.
keep in touch over social media. But yeah, I think one of the things that I learned from her is that kind of like you were alluding to, a lot of it's about relationships and, you know, just
Yeah.
kind of showing up sometimes. But anyway, because you're
Hmm.
such a capable person when it comes to even building your own business, but then also just on the creative side, I'm curious, what do you do if you have a shoot or something scheduled? And do you ever have days where you're just not feeling on, like you're just feeling
Oh my
low
God.
energy and you just want to hide under a rock? I'm like, maybe I'm speaking for myself a little
All
bit.
the time. No, I feel like that's so much because burnout is such a thing, especially in this industry where it's quite oversaturated. There's just content being thrown at us left and right, every which way. So it's hard to feel like you're doing enough a lot of the time. And so I do feel quite burned out a lot. And then I also feel like there's so many days where I'm like, I don't want to put makeup on and be in front of a camera and talk to, hundreds of thousands of people today. But I just think about like how I used to wish I could be where I am now. And that always inspires me to just like keep going and like push through, because I do suffer from anxiety. So I have those days where I'm just like really, really, really not feeling it. But I just remind myself of how hard I worked to get here and that I once dreamt of where I am now. And I'm still not even, exactly where I want to be. I still have so many more goals that I want to reach. So I just remind myself that every day is another opportunity to get closer, which really helps me to keep going for sure.
What an awesome perspective shifting tool. I love that. So you think about the Olivia from 8 years ago that just would have
Hmm.
killed for the opportunity and that
Oh,
just
yeah.
inspires you to get your A game going. That's really cool. And then
Thank
as
you.
a little bit of a follow-up, like because I looked at the pictures obviously on your Instagram, but also on your website. And you know, they're enchanting. And that's why I really encourage you to, you know, put yourself out there to an open call, whether you meet their stupid height
Yeah.
requirement or not. Cause like, you know, exceptions happen, right? But when I see some of those pictures, it's like you've got sometimes these like expressions on your face that you can tell that there's a live wire inside of that head. And I'm
Hmm.
curious, what kinds of things, if anything, do you think about when you're doing a shoot? Are you like in a fantasy in your mind, or are you just thinking about like about logistically about body angles? Like what goes through your head?
It's honestly like all of the above. And also, a big part of it is who I'm shooting with. which can make such a big difference with like my internal dialogue with what's happening. Like some of the photos on my website, a lot of them actually are with my friend Marina Williams. She is a very, very talented photographer. We started shooting together in college. So I didn't really know what I was doing, and she didn't really know what she was doing. But at this point in our careers, we've both learned so much, and we have the best time shooting together, and we come up with like really fun creative concepts. And she's also my friend, which makes it just like a way more fun experience. She can help me come up with ideas as we're shooting, which is my favorite thing as a model, like being in front of the camera. If a photographer that I'm working with sees something that I could be doing or like gets an idea and they're open to like sharing that with me and helping guide me through, that's the absolute best. Versus working with a photographer that's like not really giving you feedback, it's much harder. And sometimes I get in my head a little bit about like, oh my gosh, am I just like not doing a good job? Or that's when I start thinking more logistically about what I'm doing and like trying to change my angles and whatever. But every time I have a really good photo shoot, it's because I feel really comfortable and I'm having fun and I'm able to just sort of move freely. That's when you get the best photos for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like a friend that you're comfortable with.
Oh
For
yeah.
me, it's like if I'm on camera, I'm not a model, obviously, but like if I'm on camera and I'm trying to, have an interview or a conversation about certain topics, if I have a good rapport with the other person,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can be myself and just be my natural self. And I think that's when people are the most interesting. But if I'm like stiff and canned, then it's going to
Yeah.
come across really boring. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's neat. And so you mentioned shooting, having a friend shoot for you sometimes, which is awesome. I'm curious also, do you ever like have one of those situations where you can set up your own shoots and like shoot yourself, so to speak?
Oh yeah. I take my own photos and videos most of the time, for sure. It's something I've gotten really good at because, if I'm traveling alone, which I do often for work, it's like I need to be able to take my own content. So I am like best friends with my tripod. Here she is. She's always right next to me. But there are apps that you can use. So my favorite one is called Lens Buddy, and it will just rapid fire take photos. So I just can set up my phone and move in front of it and get all of the content that I need. So I do that a lot of the time, or I just hire a photographer. It kind of depends on the project that I'm doing and like how intricate the photo needs to be, or, whatever I'm working on with my client. So I do one or the other. I'm fully doing it on my own, or I hire somebody to help me. So, and either way, I love doing both.
That's awesome. So Lens Buddy, if you have
Mm.
like affiliate links for any of these products, I noticed you have an Amazon store. So
Yeah,
it,
I'm pretty sure. I wonder if my tripod's on there. If it's not, it should be because this thing folds up so tiny and I can put it in any purse. This isn't as small as it gets. It gets very small, but it's the best thing ever. I bring it with me all around town. Lens Buddy's a free app that I use literally every single day.
cool.
Highly
Now
recommend that.
I have to ask you, okay, because I know you're 25, so like very young and like grew up as a native, computer user.
Hmm.
But okay, I have to admit, so I'm much, 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 I'm old enough to be your mother. But like, but I have to admit, like and I want to get over this, I get self-conscious using
Hmm.
selfie sticks and like the tripods and stuff in public, even though, to be totally honest, I sometimes tell myself, Chloe, your days of looking like this are numbered. You better take as many photos of
Right.
yourself like now as you can. If you're having a good day, like get out there and like take a few pictures. But like I
Hmm.
get so nervous to like have this selfie stick because I'm afraid that people are going to look at me funny. Do you ever have that, and how do you deal with it?
Oh, yeah. I definitely have felt that way many times, especially living in New York. There's always so many people around. But I feel like I've been doing it for so long that I'm honestly just like, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. So many people do it. I mean, like, pretty much everybody is taking content of themselves these days, especially if you walk down Soho. If you're walking around, like, you will see a bunch of influencers in their tripods. And honestly, no one cares. People might look at you for a second and get a laugh out of it, but it truly does not matter. Like there's really nothing bad that can happen. People will giggle for like 1 second, but then they forgot that it ever happened. So when I feel like that, I just remind myself that I will never see those people again and that I'm making money from what I'm doing.
That is so smart. It is so smart. And you're right. Like, I personally never judge anyone for, what they're doing, taking
Hmm.
footage of themselves. And anybody who would really judge me that harshly, like, why should I care? And like you said, you'll
Right.
never see them again anyway. These are all good things to keep in mind. I think you're helping people everywhere to come out of their selfie shell.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
I have to ask you another question. And again, I hope you know I'm such a fan of yours.
Oh,
So
thank
like
you.
this question is with the backdrop of me saying, like, you're obviously intelligent and successful and have a business mind as well as an incredible creative eye. Nevertheless, as a beauty influencer and model, there are negative stereotypes that people have about that, and they can't get it through their thick skull that a woman can be
Hmm.
both beautiful and intelligent. So I'm just curious, do you ever have people assume negative things about, your intelligence or your depth of character? And again, I'm not saying that
Oh,
about you. I'm
yes.
curious if you've ever
No,
heard
of
others.
course. But yeah, absolutely. It's actually shocking to me in this time and this place where we are in the world of social media and technology that people still think that way. But I get comments all the time, like all the time, nearly every day, where people are like, oh, you should just go get a real job. Or you
Wow.
should do something that requires you to use your brain, like things like that. I get these comments way more than you would think. And it used to offend me because I would just be like, these people have no idea what I do behind the scenes. It's not like I get a product in the mail, I shoot a little picture with it, post it, and get a check in the mail. Like there's so much that happens behind the scenes that people just don't realize. So I've just really told myself none of it is a reflection of me. Most of the time, it's just that people are jealous, first of all, that I'm able to create my own schedule. I work on my own time. I do the partnerships I want to do. I'm able to stay home with my puppy most days and shoot makeup videos, and I truly just do the things that I love on a daily basis, and I'm able to make a great living in New York. As a young woman, it's truly a dream come true, and I think there's a lot of people that wish that they maybe had that freedom or had the confidence to get on the internet and post yourself like that, which is hard to get started. And I remember those days when I had my people in college, like people in my sorority that would make fun of me for doing that, saying like, oh my gosh, she thinks she's going to be an influencer and things like that. I've always had people say something, but at this point, it's just like, I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I make a great living and I am truly living a dream come true. So I can't let those comments get to me because also those people, they saw me pop up on their For You page and they know nothing at all about me. So at
Yeah.
this point, I'm just kind of like, whatever. Like, you guys are cranky and miserable if you're commenting that on other people's videos.
So true. So true.
Hmm.
So what you're modeling, so to speak, there, I mean, modeling in the psychology sense, but like
Hmm.
what you're modeling is a really healthy attitude around what psychologists call rejection sensitivity, which you
Hmm.
did as well, like about modeling agencies, or, I mean, honestly, anybody who's going to survive in entertainment in New York
Hmm.
or LA, they have to have a good ability to handle rejection sensitivity, because some people at the first, negative comment or whatever, they wilt and they break. So
Hmm.
cheers to you for developing your New York skin. So
Thank
that's
you.
yeah. No, I have another question. This wasn't even on my list, but something that you said just made me think of it when you were like,
Hmm.
oh, when I get a product, it's not like I just snap a picture and post it and get a check. To be honest, I kind of assumed that might sort of be what happened. So I'm curious, what does happen? What happens behind the scenes?
Sure. There's a lot that happens, especially now that I don't have management and I'm doing every single step of a partnership on my own. It's a lot. I mean, it always starts with a conversation with the brand, whether I reach out to them or they reach out to me. They could have a new product launch or just something that they want to promote going on in the business that they think I would be a good fit for or that I see myself a good fit for. So that's sort of how the conversation gets started. We talk about what they would like for me to post on social media, whether that's just a series of Instagram stories with the swipe up, or if they want me to do a TikTok and a reel, or whatever deliverables that they have in mind. we'll talk about that. Then I can send them my rates. We discuss all of that, what's feasible with their budget. We work that out. Then it comes down to contracting, which is super fun. So I read contracts all the time. And at this point, I could probably be a lawyer. I know so much about all that lingo, and I know how to edit a contract. I know exactly what to look for. So I'm doing that a lot, all on my own, signing contracts. And then you're talking about timeline as well. So sometimes things are really quick. So as soon as I get something in the mail, I need to keep an eye out for it and shoot content, within a few days, edit my video or my photo, whatever it may be, send it back to them as drafts with my caption. If we're doing stories, it'll have all of the written text on the screen as an example for them to approve or make any changes. Then we set a date to go live, and then I post it and go live. Then I invoice them after, and then my check comes shortly after. That's the gist of it.
That is a lot of work and a lot of logistics. That is a lot of work. So how long have you been without management?
I had one manager. I think it was actually like this time last year, but it was short term. I only had her for a couple of months. And then a year before that, I was with an agency for about 2 years. So it's been on and off.
Huh. And do you have like a business mentor in your life, someone that helps you to kind of see around corners and think about strategy and have some of those negotiating conversations?
No, not really. I really do everything on my own. I used to. Like I had when I worked with my first management company a few years ago, we had such a great relationship and always talked strategy and things like that. And I feel like nowadays I have such a clear idea of the things that I want to do that I'm able to write out my goals and ideas down, and I'm just able to execute them. And whatever I'm doing so far seems to be working. So I'm very happy with it. And yeah, at this point, I really have nobody else on my team besides like my supporters, my family, and my closest friends are always there for me. And they always love to share ideas too, which is really fun.
That's awesome. What is it like for you in this particular niche around beauty in terms of dating? Like, do you mind sharing, are you dating now, or is it hard to get kind of people to trust that they'll love you when you're 80, so to speak,
Right. Absolutely. Yes, I am dating. I have had a boyfriend for almost 3 years. Our anniversary is actually next week, but I never really post him on social media. I had posted my ex-boyfriend on my social media, and I just decided that was something I don't really want to do anymore. It just was like, I don't really need that to be on the internet. Like I like to have some things private and like safe, and I don't need to put them out in the world for people to comment on or whatever. So that's a part of my life that I've really decided to keep private. I'm happy to talk about it though, for sure. And I'm not really concerned about like what my boyfriend thinks of me in like the future, because I know that like he respects what I do for work, absolutely, and he thinks I'm beautiful, but it's so much more than that, and he totally understands too that like social media is my job. So I also am really good about like setting time restrictions for how much I'm on my phone. So, because I'm pretty much always on my phone during the workday. But after hours, like when it's time for us to like hang out, like I really put my phone down. I never really ask him to be in my content. I never ask him to take photos of me. I've just decided that I want to keep the two things separate, which has been like really good for me. I feel like I'm happier that way. It feels like a safe little like pocket of love, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. So that's interesting about putting your phone down, because I mean, I'm not even as active on social media as you, though I will say for me, it's been amazing. Like the networking and the people I can meet and the things I can do over social media, it's incredible. And I actually do have to put some boundaries around myself sometimes, because I don't want to be one of those people that's always on my phone. And I'll admit, I think it's just probably a natural human thing that we want positive regard from our community. So, and there's been some psychology studies that show that we can get almost addicted to the dopamine hit, like if we're getting a bunch of likes on our posts. So I'm curious, how do you deal with that stuff? Like as far as like your relationship with your phone and everything?
I feel like over the years, I've really like detached from the idea that that's where I get like happiness from. Like I feel like I really think of it as just a business at this point. Like I don't use social media the same ways as my friends. So I'm not necessarily like posting on there for fun anymore the way that I did in college, if that makes sense. I still have fun when I'm posting and like creating content, and I enjoy it absolutely. But like when I post it, it's more work in my mind. It's almost like I'm submitting an assignment now. I enjoy it. It's a very fun project, but like it's work, if that makes sense. So I feel like I've separated it from something like a hobby or a way that I just, spend my time. I've separated it so that it's not that anymore. It's strictly just like work to me now. I'm clocking in and clocking out.
Yeah. But even within that situation, I think people can get, and not even in a bad way, they can get, I don't want to say dependent, because again, that sounds bad, but they can feel psychologically linked to positive feedback at work, which is, again, it's not a bad thing. So I'm just curious, like when you do posts, do you find yourself like checking the likes, since it's also a business metric? I mean, or do you have ways that you detach from that?
Definitely. Like I mean, for one thing, I have filters on comments so that certain comments are not able to be commented under my photos. So I have filtered out like plenty of, bad and mean words so that I don't have to see any mean comments like that may pop up. But other than that, like I definitely check my likes. Like you said, it's just a metric. Like a lot of the time I submit those things to my clients after a partnership and things like that. So I always know what's going on. I feel like it affects me less with the hiding likes feature on Instagram lately. Like that's totally a new thing. And I didn't know how I felt about it at first, but now I always hide my likes because there's something different about it just not being in your face. So the only time I'm really looking at it is when I need to submit it for work or something. If like a client needs to see it, I'll go screenshot whatever so I see it. I do like to make sure that my content's performing well also, and I do want to make sure that I'm getting like positive comments, people like what I'm putting out, or if they have questions. I love engaging with my audience and things like that, but I try to be careful about like, taking a lot of comments to heart, especially on TikTok. I feel like you get more crazy comments on TikTok than on Instagram.
It seems to be a cesspool. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. I feel like on TikTok, to me, like in my experience, I feel like the difference in the audiences and the way that people comment is different, because on Instagram, it's like you follow the people that you follow. You see them, almost every day. You feel like you know them. But on TikTok, you're scrolling through the For You page where it's people you've never seen before and you may never see again. So you're less inclined to like be nice to someone. Like you might be like, okay, I'm never going to see this person again. Never seen them before. I don't care about them. I know nothing about them. So they might be like, okay, I can put a mean comment here because it doesn't matter. So I feel like that's why there is many more negative comments on TikTok than Instagram. So I look at my comments less on TikTok. I really just open it up and it filters kind of like the most liked comments towards the top, which most of the time is either a very nice compliment or it's a popular question that people have about something that I'm posting. So I try not to scroll through all of them.
Do you consume much social media yourself?
Yes, I definitely do. I try to set like time limits on how much I'm scrolling. Because it's either like I'm scrolling for research and like ideas of like things to post and trends and stuff like that. That is something I have to do. Absolutely. And then there's the other part that's like, okay, I'm just scrolling mindlessly at this point. So as soon as I realize I'm doing that, I have to stop. TikTok's so fun. I could scroll for hours.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I won't even I know that I have a TikTok and my team will post pretty much whatever we put on other apps. Like they'll put it onto TikTok, but I'm personally afraid to like go on TikTok because I've heard it's so addictive.
Yeah, it really is. It's such a fun platform, honestly. Like there's nothing like it.
My goodness. Wow. TikTok, speaking of time, I guess we're kind of at the end of our time here as well. But I want to thank you again just for taking the time to share with me. And if there's anything I didn't ask you about or anything you want to shout out or mention, feel free.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm trying to think, like, I feel like we covered a lot.
I think so too, Olivia.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. It was awesome to see you. And since you, by the way, thank you for sharing as well that you had struggled with anxiety. I'm going to send you a complimentary copy of my book. Perhaps
Oh my
you'll
gosh,
enjoy it.
thank you, Dr. Chloe.
It's called Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety. And it was
Oh, I
endorsed by
love
Deepak
that.
Chopra. So
Oh
perhaps
my
it may be
gosh.
helpful.
Yes, I will give you my address ASAP.
Awesome. Okay. Take care, Olivia. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chloe. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great.